I'm Jim Mars, a journalist, author from Texas, visiting here at the Ozark UFO Conference. I've been here years ago, and I'm back again, enjoying myself immensely. I love Eureka Springs. Today, I talked about remote viewing aliens. Combining remote viewing with aliens is kind of joining two weird concepts, but then I thought it was very strange when first learned about remote viewing, which is a psychic phenomena where people can cast their mind out. They used to call it clairvoyance. I thought it was a bunch of nonsense, and now I found out the United States Army not only had been experimenting with it successfully, but testing it and then actually using it operationally by Army intelligence agents. And they were able to cast their mind out across the world, see what other countries are developing as far as weapons and things go look in on secret meetings and secret documents, and even throw their minds out into outer space. And when you use remote viewing and you go into outer space, then all of a sudden you come face to face with the UFOs. Now, their superiors, the Army superiors in the Pentagon, they didn't really believe in remote viewing much to begin with, and they certainly didn't believe in UFOs or didn't want to talk about it. So the remote viewers in the Army were never officially tasked to go look at UFOs, but they were tasked to go and look at high performance aircraft in the upper atmosphere, to see what the Russians or the Chinese were testing. And when they go up there, they'd find out that, as one of them told me, he said, those guys are not even from the neighborhood. They found non-humans that were flying in the atmosphere. So although some of the remote viewers who are in the Army now, some of them will talk openly about this, some of them will only talk guardedly about it, and some won't talk about it, but every single one of them who were able to go out and do these mental searches came face to face with the reality of UFOs. Well, at the conference, I simply related the information that I got from the Army remote viewers, some of the best ones they had. And I think something that actually was of interest to most people is that once they had the knowledge of the reality of UFOs, they began to wonder if there was some sort of central command headquarters, or, where did they all come from? Was there any kind of overall command? And so they actually, on their own, this was not official policy, but they, on their own, they took it upon themselves to go see if they could find Galactic Federation headquarters, for want of a better expression. And sure enough, they found this off-world planet and they described a city, they described a temple, they described just a lot of fascinating things. And the reason that really interests me and tells me there's got to be some credibility to this is that several different viewers at different places, at different locations, casting their minds out to see what was out there, and they all saw the same thing. Well, that just, what am I researching? And I guess I have to say everything. Anything that comes across my desk that I don't know about, I want to go know about, so I'll go check it out to find out what's going on. Once you start studying UFOs, then that leads you to ancient astronauts. And that leads you to the question of, well, if there were these non-humans on the Earth in the distant past, did they all leave, or are some of them still here? And if some of them are still here, then who are they, where are they, and what are they up to? And then that leads you into fascinating subjects like secret societies, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, modern secret societies like the Bilderbergers, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the Trilateral Commission, and then these secretive treaties that they're putting together now that the public has little input and little knowledge of, beginning with NAFTA and these trade agreements, the Prosperity Partnership that Bush signed with Mexico back in the early 2000s, about 2005, and now this Trans-Pacific Partnership, where we're aligning ourselves with these other nations, and yet nobody seems to have a vote in any of this. And it lends a lot of credence to the idea that there is this clique of very wealthy globalists, as they call themselves, who are trying to corral us into a new world order. I have every reason to believe that these globalists have more knowledge, perhaps even direct knowledge of the UFOs and their occupants than the average person. In fact, my book, Our Occulted History, which is, I use the term occulted not for spooks or Satanism or zombies, or occult things, but in the astronomical sense, because when the moon occults the sun or has an eclipse, it's called an occultation. And so it's our hidden history. And my working hypothesis on that book was, is there a connection between all of the stories from around the world about ancient astronauts, these non-humans that interfered with human development in our earliest stages, and today? And yes, they do. For example, just for one example, is towards the top of the financial pyramid, it's pretty well understood that the Rothschild banking dynasty has inordinate control over a lot of the world's economies, and they themselves claim to be the descendants of Nimrod, the ancient Sumerian god king, who is thought to be one of the Anunnaki, which translates as those who came from the heavens and landed on the earth. So yes, there does seem to be a connection. There does seem to be people or individuals on this planet today who have a much more intimate knowledge of not only history, but our connection to these space travelers. Yes, this is one of the problems I've had. I've been at this so long, and I forget that there's a lot of people who are just now becoming aware of these topics and getting interested in it, and young people who are just now coming to it. And I tend to forget that they don't know the things I know. And so I'm having to kind of backtrack and make sure that everybody gets up to the same speed. It was only just a few short years ago that when you tried to mention the Bilderberg meetings or the Trilateral Commission, they were actually people saying, well, that doesn't exist, And it's the same thing with the ancient astronauts. I know when von Daniken came out with his books back in the 70s, writing about chariots of the gods, the establishment people just snickered and said, that's ridiculous. And now, it's been one of the most popular TV series, and they have done extraordinary work in proving up the legends from all around the world, the basic story of which concerns people that were flying through the air. So it's all there. It's all very real, and I think that it's important that everyone start paying serious attention to this, because what I say is, if you don't understand about the place of UFOs and aliens in world history, then you'll never be able to make any correct decisions about what's happening now, because you've thrown out a big piece of the puzzle.